Hello, fellow gardeners, and welcome back to the Humus Heritage. I'm thrilled you've joined me today because we're diving deep into something that could be secretly sabotaging your fall harvest success. What if I told you the biggest threat to your fall harvest is hiding right in plain sight, and it's probably something you're doing with your fall leaves? This isn't about pests or bad weather. It's about crucial missteps that almost every gardener overlooks, from beginners to seasoned veterans. As autumn paints our landscapes in brilliant oranges, reds, and golds, most of us naturally think we're doing our gardens a favor by collecting and utilizing these fallen treasures. After all, leaves are nature's original mulch and compost material, right? Well, yes and no. The truth is, there are 5 critical mistakes that can transform these golden gifts into garden killers, potentially costing you a successful harvest and setting your soil health back months or even years. Today, I'm exposing these hidden, fall leaf mistakes that could be undermining all your hard work, and more importantly, I'll share exactly what you need to do instead to ensure your autumn gardening efforts actually boost your harvest rather than destroy it. The first mistake that's silently killing harvests across the country is what I call the soil saboteur syndrome. This happens when gardeners fall into the trap of thinking that simply adding fallen leaves to their garden beds will automatically create the perfect growing environment for fall plantings. It's an understandable assumption, but it's one that leads to devastating consequences. The reality is that fallen leaves alone cannot address the complex nutritional needs of your soil, especially during the critical fall planting season when your vegetables and herbs need immediate access to balanced nutrients. Many gardeners make the mistake of ignoring proper soil amendments for fall planting, leading to severe nutrient deficiencies despite having abundant organic matter from leaves scattered throughout their beds. Here's where the problem compounds. Most gardeners skip the essential step of testing their soil pH, assuming that fall leaves alone will magically balance their soil's acidity or alkalinity. This assumption is particularly dangerous because different fall crops have vastly different pH requirements. Your Brussels sprouts might thrive in slightly alkaline soil, while your blueberry bushes desperately need acidic conditions. Fallen leaves typically create a more acidic environment as they decompose, which can be perfect for some plants but devastating for others. The third component of this soil saboteur mistake is over-relying on leaves as your sole mulch and soil amendment. While leaves provide excellent organic matter, they lack the diverse benefits that come from incorporating other amendments like aged compost, bone meal, or rock phosphate. Your soil ecosystem needs variety to thrive, and when you limit yourself to just leaves, you're essentially putting your garden on a restrictive diet that lacks essential nutrients and beneficial microorganisms that other amendments provide. Now let's talk about a couple of really common mistakes that can turn your fall leaf efforts into a real headache: compaction and pests. These are issues that, honestly, catch even experienced gardeners off guard from time to time. The second critical mistake is creating what I call the compaction catastrophe, and this one is particularly heartbreaking because it happens with the best of intentions. So picture this scenario. You've spent hours collecting beautiful fall leaves, and in your enthusiasm to protect your plants and improve your soil, you pile them thick and deep around your precious fall plantings. What seems like extra protection actually becomes a suffocating blanket that creates anaerobic conditions underneath. When leaves are piled too thickly, they form an impermeable barrier that prevents oxygen from reaching the soil and the beneficial organisms that live there. These soil organisms, including earthworms, beneficial bacteria, and mycorrhizal fungi, are absolutely essential for breaking down organic matter and making nutrients available to your plants. Without adequate oxygen, these beneficial organisms die off, and harmful anaerobic bacteria take over, creating toxic conditions that can kill plant roots. The compaction problem gets worse when gardeners walk or drive over their leaf piles, especially when the leaves are intended for composting or soil improvement. Every footstep or tire track compacts the leaves into dense, matted layers that resist decomposition and water infiltration. This physical compression eliminates the air spaces that are crucial for healthy decomposition and root development. Perhaps the most common aspect of the compaction catastrophe is failing to shred leaves before using them in the garden. Whole leaves, especially large ones like maple or oak, have a tendency to form dense, impenetrable mats when they get wet. These mats act like waterproof tarps, preventing both water and air from penetrating to plant roots below. Instead of nourishing your plants, these leaf mats essentially create a barrier that starves your plants of the very elements they need to survive and produce a good harvest. The third devastating mistake transforms your well-intentioned leaf management into what I call a pest paradise. And this problem is particularly insidious because it often doesn't show its true damage until it's too late to save your harvest. Many gardeners create perfect breeding and hiding grounds for destructive pests without even realizing they're doing it. The most common version of this mistake involves leaving wet, undecomposed leaf piles directly adjacent to or surrounding your fall plantings. These moist, dark environments become luxury resorts for slugs, snails, and earwigs, all of which can devastate tender fall crops overnight. These pests don't just eat your plants, they multiply rapidly in these ideal conditions, creating population explosions that can destroy an entire harvest in a matter of days. What makes this problem even worse is that many gardeners fail to inspect their collected leaves for overwintering insect eggs, pupae, or fungal spores before adding them to their garden beds. Those innocent-looking leaves you gathered from under your oak tree might be harboring hundreds of aphid eggs or the spores of devastating fungal diseases. When you introduce these contaminated leaves directly into your garden environment, you're essentially inoculating your soil and plants with next season's pest and disease problems. Now, when it comes to keeping your garden thriving, moisture and nutrients play a huge role. It's important to make sure your soil stays consistently damp, but not waterlogged, and don't forget to feed your plants with the right nutrients, because healthy soil leads to healthy plants. So just remember to check your soil regularly and adjust your watering and feeding as needed. The fourth critical mistake is what I call the moisture miscalculation. And honestly, it's responsible for more failed fall harvests than most gardeners ever realize. This mistake, well, it really stems from some fundamental misunderstandings about how leaf mulches interact with water and how that affects plant health during the crucial fall growing season. Many gardeners assume that fall rain combined with leaf mulch will automatically provide sufficient moisture for their plants throughout the season. But this assumption can actually be fatal to fall crops because leaf mulches, particularly when they're dry, can end up repelling water rather than absorbing it. When autumn rains hit dry leaf piles, the water often just runs off the surface rather than penetrating to the soil below, leaving plant roots in drought conditions even during rainy periods. On the opposite end, some gardeners make the mistake of overwatering their leaf-mulched beds, creating soggy conditions that promote fungal growth and root rot instead of healthy plant development. Wet leaf piles become breeding grounds for harmful fungi and bacteria that can attack plant roots and stems, leading to sudden plant death just when your fall crops should be reaching maturity. Perhaps the most subtle aspect of the moisture miscalculation involves not understanding the moisture-wicking effect of dry leaves. When leaf mulches become completely dry, they can actually pull moisture away from the soil through capillary action, leaving newly planted fall crops struggling to establish their root systems. This is particularly devastating for tender transplants or recently seeded areas that really need consistent moisture to develop properly. The irony is that the mulch intended to conserve moisture actually becomes a moisture thief, slowly dehydrating your plants even when you think you're providing adequate water. The fifth and final mistake that's killing fall harvests is nutrient neglect, and, this one is particularly frustrating because it represents such a massive missed opportunity. Most gardeners understand that fallen leaves will eventually decompose and provide nutrients to their soil, but they fail to optimize this process in ways that could dramatically improve their fall harvest results. The most common aspect of nutrient neglect involves missing out on the accelerated decomposition benefits that come from adding nitrogen-rich materials to leaf piles. Leaves are extremely high in carbon but low in nitrogen, which means they decompose very slowly on their own. When gardeners fail to add nitrogen sources like fresh grass clippings, kitchen scraps, or blood meal to their leaf piles, they essentially guarantee that nutrient release will be too slow to benefit their current fall crops. Many gardeners also underestimate the carbon-to-nitrogen ratio issue, which can lead to temporary nitrogen tie-up in the soil. When high-carbon materials like leaves begin decomposing without adequate nitrogen, The decomposition process actually pulls nitrogen from the surrounding soil to fuel the process. This means your plants can experience nitrogen deficiency even when they're surrounded by organic matter that should eventually provide nutrition. The final aspect of nutrient neglect involves not actively managing leaf piles through turning, mixing, or proper incorporation into the soil. Gardeners who simply pile leaves and wait for nature to take its course miss out on the opportunity to create evenly distributed nutrients throughout their growing beds. Active management of decomposing leaves ensures that nutrients become available when and where your plants need them most, rather than creating pockets of rich soil surrounded by areas of nutrient-poor earth. Understanding and avoiding these 5 critical mistakes can really transform your fall leaf management from a harvest-killing liability into a harvest-boosting asset. The key here is recognizing that successful fall gardening with leaves requires active management, proper techniques, and a good understanding of how organic matter interacts with soil, water, and plant nutrition. Now that you understand these 5 critical mistakes, you're equipped to turn your fall leaf abundance into garden gold instead of garden grief. Remember, successful gardening is all about understanding the science behind the beauty, and now you have the knowledge to make informed decisions that will benefit your harvest for years to come. If this guide has opened your eyes to new possibilities in your fall garden management, I'd love to hear about your experiences in the comments below. Have you been making any of these mistakes? What changes will you implement this season? Your fellow Humus Heritage community members learn so much from shared experiences, so please don't hesitate to share your story. Don't forget to subscribe to the Humus Heritage channel if you haven't already. And hit that notification bell so you never miss our weekly deep dives into the science and art of soil building and harvest optimization. Share this video with your gardening friends and family members who might be unknowingly making these same mistakes with their fall leaves. Together, we're building a community of gardeners who understand that healthy soil is the foundation of abundant harvests, and every leaf that falls is an opportunity to improve our growing environment for seasons to come. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep building that humus heritage.